Hello, my name is Ilona and today is Monday, March 24th, 2025. And next week I'm taking a week off, so I will still be here this week, but next week I'm just taking some time for myself. I maybe have mentioned it that I'm really been working on myself the past 2 weeks. I've had a few sessions with people and it brought up a lot, and I'm noticing that I just need some time to sit back, take in everything, let it settle. And I will be back, of course, Monday, April 7th, 2025. Just want to mention that. In this video, I'm going to take a look at different things than in my Dutch videos. I will make sure that there will be subtitles for my Dutch video if you want to watch that. There are some news things I do want to discuss in this video as well. I've mentioned in my Dutch video. First of all, the Pope is returning. He is leaving the hospital after 5 weeks. He still needs to rest for 2 months. And I do believe that this was part of preparing people that he's going to leave the Earth. And I think pretty soon, we just don't know. And I believe it will be a very important event when he falls, just like the Queen of Great Britain, Elizabeth, when she fell. I think it's going to be very, very important. And it's preparing people. There are still a lot of people worldwide looking up to the Pope, placing him on a pedestal. And it will, of course, be very devastating for them to, of course, find out later on what's really been happening. But you need to bring it in like stages. And I think especially when, that he's going to leave the Earth plate, people are now being prepared for that. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. Interesting pictures, by the way. I barely recognized the man. I'm glad that they mentioned that this was the Pope, because I was like, who is this? Interesting. The British government is going to reduce, or at least resign, like 10,000 jobs in the government. So that's interesting. They really have to rein in. I'm sure it had nothing to do with what's happening in America, in the United States of America, with Doge, who is, of course, shutting down all kinds of money trails, and I think a lot of them led to Great Britain as well. But it's interesting that they're now also getting rid of a lot of jobs, and really most likely unnecessary jobs as well. Their excuse is that because of what happened the past 5 years, what was going around the world, that they got a lot more jobs and a lot more people for those jobs, and now they have to, it's not necessary anymore. But I think it has to do with Doge, and I think we're going to see that worldwide in other countries, that people just have to cut back. Governments will have to cut back because really there's no money anymore. So I thought that was interesting. Another thing, that in Paris they've actually had a referendum, I think. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but they've asked the people in Paris if they wanted to, make sure there were another 500 streets where cars cannot be placed anymore. So they really want to make sure Paris is going to be completely car-free. Ultimately, that is the agenda with those 50-minute cities. And it was a very low, hardly anyone showed up for it, didn't vote at all. I think very low percentage. But apparently that a lot of people that did go were pro leaving the car behind, so to speak. And I think this is very important. People need to see and experience this. So I'm just kind of waiting and see how the people there are really going to respond to, that they can't place their car anymore in their own streets. Really have no idea how they're going to do that, but apparently it's already happened in 200 streets in Paris in 2020. 10,000 parking spots disappeared, and because of this now they're going to have another 10,000 parking spots are going to be disappearing. So we'll have to wait and see. It's really about what are people going to accept, how are people going to react. That is really what this is all about. But we'll see. Especially in Paris, they have interesting actions when they do take actions, like of course what happened with the Seine when Macron was going to swim in it, and they all called on people to start defecating in the Seine, because of course Macron was going to swim there. So we'll have to wait and see. They do have interesting actions if they do get prepared to stand up. So we'll have to wait and see, but this is happening, obviously, to see if people are going to be, really going to take action. This is the Great Awakening. This is about awakening as people, that we are standing up for things and that we don't let it just happen and stand by and not do anything. Because that's, of course, what the dark energies want. They don't want us to do anything about it and just accept things. And they're going to push and push and push. The other things, this is more from the Netherlands, that we have, of course, those solar panels. Well, they're now going to be have to pay back the electricity. So a lot of people got those solar panels because the electricity, it would, they would get out of it. They could take off their electrical bill. But now it's being changed by the government. And now they'll have to pay for that. So all these people with all the solar panels, really, they're being screwed, pretty much. So a lot of people don't want it anymore, and you also have tenants who took on all those solar panels and were paying like a small, small amount of money for that. They of course don't want that either, because ultimately it won't help them in any way, and then they're still paying for it. So I think this is interesting. Another article I saw this morning was about electrical cars. Three big brands are completely falling, silent. Like you can't, charge them anymore. They're not doing anything. So here in the Netherlands, there are like 33,000 cases of cars that just stopped doing anything. They couldn't charge them anymore. It's from Peugeot, Opel or Citroën. And the company that's, of course, building these, or that's responsible for that, don't know what to do anymore. That's great. So you got an electrical car and it's not doing anything anymore. And they've tried to change up things, but of course that is all extra cost for the people owning those cars. They have to pay for new instruments, new, replacing things. And it's still not working. So obviously this is really great advertisements for electrical cars. And this was in a Dutch newspaper. I'm sure people are running out to get those cars now. In the Dutch video, I looked at nitrogen here in the Netherlands. Very interesting. There has been a group of people, actually from a political party, D66 stuff, they got together and they looked at new calculations that apparently are not confirming with what the government is working with. And so they're like, well, it has to change because what the government is saying about this nitrogen is not true. Right, so a lot of people like farmers and fishermen that gave up their companies was based on false, evidence in a way, false facts. And so there's a big issue because this group of people that got together and started looking at the things that has to do with what's coming from the North Sea. And apparently the nitrogen is much lower coming from the North Sea than what the government is upholding. And they were actually from a political group. They were gathered by a political group, and they of course came with their this is really what's going on. It doesn't, what the government is upholding, it doesn't fit with what we're seeing. And so one of the people in the political party didn't want them to tell this. Didn't want them to come out with this evidence. And so they've sent this report anyway, but they couldn't use the D66, so the political party anymore, attached to their group. That should tell you all there is. They don't need reality. They don't want reality. They don't want what's really going on. It's all about a completely different agenda. And they're just using nitrogen. And they need to hold on to that, to their little fantasy calculations they have. Because obviously then their entire agenda is going to fall apart. It's really very, very sad, but it's interesting that this is now coming out. So that's in the Netherlands. I've taken a look at it with the cards. You can see that in my Dutch video. Another thing I've taken a look at was Turkey. What's going on there? Of course, the mayor of Istanbul has been, well, they've taken him in. There are all kinds of things they're charging him with. And he wanted to come out as like a new candidate for the presidency. And he's opposing Erdogan. And so many things are now happening. And a lot of people in Turkey are now out on the streets. So I also taken a look with my card reading what that was about. And so you can see that in my Dutch video. In this video, I want to take a look first of all to, let's see, Serbia. There's a lot of people, of course, are not happy with what's going on there. There was a disaster happening with, I just have to see what this is about. It had to do with people dying in a train station. A roof collapsed in Novi Sad and 15 people died. And a lot of people were like, well, this had to do with a mistake in the construction, and that had to do with the corruption in the Serbian government. And so a lot of people were coming out, and apparently you can even see clips of that. I have to see if I can still find a clip and hopefully put it or share it on my Telegram, but there have been other clips as well where you can see people standing, you know, peacefully standing up for themselves, and suddenly some noise happened and they were just scattered all around. It has to do with like a sound cannon, and it makes you feel like it triggers things in your mind, and it's really a horrible thing to use. And a lot of people have now signed a petition about possible use of this sound cannon during what's going on in Belgrade in Serbia. So that was really very strange. People got headaches and got nauseous. It's a very high frequency. And I think this is very interesting because this has been used, I think, on other cases as well. And it's good that this is coming out, but really horrible how they've been used, these frequency weapons. And I just wanted to take a look with the cards what this is about. I do believe this is also about showing people again what's really been happening, and that frequencies have such an effect on us, just like frequencies from mobiles, frequencies from the 5G, frequencies that are happening all around us, being used against us. But I'm just going to take a look with the cards. We have the Hanged Man, different perspective. We've got the Hermit as the central card. It's really isolating people as well, and in a way bringing them together, obviously. But the Knight of Cups in the past. We have the Queen of Cups. That's the bringing together. Underneath the Hermit, the Devil for the near future, and we see the Nine of Cups. I also see here underneath the cards the Page of Wands. So I do believe that this is also bringing out these things and showing people what's really been going on. Showing the dark energies who really are in a way very, how to say this, almost, I don't know really the word for that, but they're like, oh, look at us, we really did this. It's really horrible way, but it's shown now, the arrogance of using those things against people, and really feeling, how to say this, almost smug about it. That's the feeling I'm getting. So they're probably not going to confirm anything in Serbia, but it's really the smugness that's coming out now, and I think it's going to really anger a lot of people, and that's what this is about. It's about opening people's minds, isolating in a way people, of course, with what's being used, but this is also bringing people together, that this government is using this against us, but it's much bigger than that, because these are weapons. They are being used on so many levels, and people need to start understanding that frequencies are so important. They can hurt us, they can heal us. And a lot of people don't fully understand that that is how it works, and this is part of showing this, but this is really about showing the arrogance and smugness of the dark energies and the things they used. And I think more things are going to come out about this. And there's actually the article I'm reading about is from a Dutch newspaper. So there's also articles now in other countries about this. And you see that clip when people are just scattering. It's just like you hear some kind of sound. It's like everyone is kind of running away. It's very frightening in a way, but it's so important that people are aware of that and that this is happening. Now, the other thing I want to take a look at is, of course, that the United States of America are talking again with Russia about the Ukraine. They're not talking with the Ukraine, they're just talking directly with each other. And this is now happening in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And they talked about this on Sunday. Not sure if the talks are continuing. But this is very interesting what's going on there. So I'm just going to take a look at the energy of that. The talks between the United States and of course Russia. There was of course I think last week a talk between, or maybe even before that, but I think it was last week, between Mr. T and Mr. P that went quite well actually. We know that in a way, at least that's my perspective, they are on the same side. But we're just going to see what the talks are between the United States of America and Russia about the Ukraine and the situation there. There's going to be an ending. 10 of Swords. We have a 10 of Wands, so that's 2 10s. And that means really an ending of things. The Page of Wands in the past, so that's the White Hat's influences. The Sun underneath the 10 of Wands. We've got the Fool. And we have Judgment. So really, we've got 3 major arcana cards. This situation is kind of ending. That's the feeling I'm getting, especially with these 2 10s. That's like ending. This is quite a radical ending. But we see with the 10 of Wands that they can't go on in this situation anymore. And I think this kind of symbolizes the Ukraine. They can't go on this way anymore. They don't have the logistics anymore. They don't have the money anymore. Of course, NATO wants to make it seem like they still have something, and the European countries, the European Union with Ursula tries to send money over. It's not going to work. I think that's falling apart, and other things will come out about this, and also connected with children and other things, but also a different light is coming in that in what's going on there. So I see a new beginning and waking up people, so the Judgment card. So this is kind of the end of things, and I think a lot of things are going to come out about what's been happening there. You know, we also have this most likely all these pardons that Mr. B did for his son, which is also connected with Ukraine because his son was connected there. A whole lot of connections happening there, and of course that's going to most likely be void because of the auto pen. More and more things are going to come out. It all comes out in phases, and if you really look at it, like I've mentioned many times before, and others as well, this is a chess game. People are putting things in place, and ultimately you see the bigger picture. But this is all part of it, but this is ending. I see here 2 10s ending, new beginning, but this is also about waking up people. So I think that's what will be coming out. That's the energy behind the talks. I'd like to leave it at this. Like I've mentioned, I'll probably do another video, at least one more, about the energy of April, and I'll probably place it on Thursday. Maybe another video this week. I'll have to wait and see. And next week, I'm going to take some time off, but I will be mentioning that in my other videos as well. Bye!